This video tutorial will provide the understanding of how to activate, print, void, and reprint a check within the AccuTax software. During communications, AccuTax will send a list of checks that have been authorized by your bank to be dispersed. The number next to checks, registers, and activation will show how many checks are authorized and ready to be printed. From the Work in Progress screen, under the Printing queue, select Checks, Registry, and Activations to open the Checks, Registry, and Activations window. The Checks, Registry, and Activations window displays three tabs: Checks to Print, Check Register, and Check Inventory. The Checks to Print tab displays a list of clients whose checks are ready to print, as well as the user ID, site ID, and the RAC bank. To avoid printing complications, make sure the GDI printing box is checked. The Test Check button will allow you to see if checks print correctly when you start new checks. To delete a check, select the checkbox next to the check you wish to delete and select the Delete button. Note, you should always consult your account executive manager before deleting a check from the system. To print checks, use the Print button at the bottom of the window. We will discuss this function later in the tutorial. The Check Register tab. The Check Register tab displays a compiled list of all checks that have been printed from your system. The Filter Criteria section allows you to look for a specific check by last name, Social Security number, site ID, before date, or after date. Enter your search criteria and click the Filter button to view the checks matching your selection. You should be able to quickly find the check you are looking for in the list. The Check Register tab also allows you to void and reprint a check, which will be discussed later in this tutorial. The Check Inventory tab. The Check Inventory tab displays all of the check stocks you have activated and allows you to activate a new check stock or edit an existing one. The check stocks will be arranged by starting check number, ending check number, site ID, and bank. Activate a check stock. Before printing a check, you will have to activate the check stock that was supplied by your refund settlement banking partner. To activate a new check stock, navigate the Check Inventory tab. Click the Activate button at the bottom of the screen. The Activate Check Range window will appear, requiring some provided information in order to activate the check stock. Select the RAC bank from the drop-down menu. For this tutorial, we will be utilizing TPG as the RAC bank. Enter the starting and ending check numbers in the appropriate fields from the check stock you received from the bank. Now enter the site ID, which would be your client user ID. Enter the check layout version if applicable. This is only required for certain banks, and the information is available on the outside packaging of the checks. Normally, the check layout is 4 capital letters. The check layout version will vary depending on the banking partner that will be utilized. Some banks do not have a check layout version. In this case, the check layout version field will not be displayed. Click OK, and you will be returned to the Check Inventory tab, where the activated check stock will be displayed. Select a check stock and click the Edit button, or double-click on the check stock to edit an activated set of check numbers. This will open the Edit Check Range window. Edit the starting and/or ending check numbers and click OK. The edited check numbers will appear in the Check Inventory tab. Print a check. Now that you have activated your check stocks, you can begin printing checks. To print a check, navigate to the Checks to Print tab. Remember to use the Test Check option to print a test copy of a check and avoid errors while printing a check to be dispersed. If this is your first time printing a check, it is recommended that you use your printer to make a copy of the first check and use the copies for test printing. This will prevent wasting additional checks when test printing. Click the Test Check button, and the print window will display. Select the correct printer from the drop-down list. Load a copy of the first check into the printer to print the test check on, and click the Print button. A test copy of a check will be printed, so you can verify that the rest of the checks in the check stock will be printed correctly. If you are satisfied with the results of the test check, you can now print an authorized check to be dispersed to the taxpayer. Under Filter Criteria from the drop-down list, choose all sites or one particular site for which you want to print checks. In the drop-down list next to RAC Bank, Select the appropriate bank to display all of the authorized checks to be printed from your refund settlement banking partner. For this tutorial, we will be using TPG. Select the checkbox next to each check you want to print. You can use the Select All button at the bottom to select all of the checks, or Clear All button to unselect all of the checks at one time. However, it is best practice to print checks individually to avoid errors. Before clicking the Print Checks button, check your printer to be sure it is loaded properly with checks. Click the Print Checks button to open the Print Checks window. Enter the starting check number that is in the printer and select OK. This number must correspond with the set of numbers activated to be printed. The print window will open. Select the correct printer from the drop-down list. For an in-depth tutorial on designating a default printer for printing checks, watch the printer setup video in the AccuTax University Library. Click the Print button and the selected checks will begin printing. To void a check, navigate to the Check Register tab. Select the checkbox next to the check you would like to void. You can also use the Select All and Clear All buttons at the bottom to select or unselect all of the checks at one time. Click the Void button to open the Void check window. Select the correct bank from which the check was issued and verify that the check number displayed is correct. Enter a short note in the Notes section regarding the reason the check is being voided. Click OK to void the check and close the Void check window. Note, when a check is voided, it is not sent to the AccuTax e-file center first. If a check is stolen or lost, you must call the bank to place a stop payment on the check. Reprint a check. To reprint a check without reissuing it through the bank, make sure you are on the Check Register tab. Select the checkbox next to the check you would like to reprint and click the Reprint button. Note, when a check is set to be reprinted, it is simply queued to be reprinted again and is not sent to the AccuTax e-file center first. The ERO will be prompted by a warning that he or she is responsible for any losses attributed to the unauthorized reprinting of a check. This option should be used only for checks that are torn, damaged, or printed incorrectly. Write Void clearly on the damaged check and refer to your bank guidelines on what to do with the voided check. After watching this video, you should now understand how to print, void, and reprint a check. Check out our many in-depth training video tutorials in the AccuTax University Library.